Good day, and thank you for watching. If you've been served with divorce papers in California, there is one thing you need to understand immediately. Doing nothing is not a strategy, because if you don't respond, the court can move forward without you. This is called a default judgment, and it can have serious consequences. Let's start with the basics. When you are served with divorce papers, you have a limited amount of time to respond. In most cases, that deadline is 30 days. If you do not file a response within that time, the other party can request that the court enter your default. What does that mean? It means you lose your right to participate in the case. You lose your ability to contest what the other party is asking for. And the court may proceed based solely on the information provided by the other side. Now, here's the key. A default judgment does not mean the case stops. It means the case continues without your input. That's where many people make a mistake. They assume that if they ignore the paperwork, nothing will happen. But in reality, the case moves forward. And decisions can be made about property, custody, and support without your involvement. Let's talk about what can be included in a default judgment. Division of assets and debts, child custody and visitation arrangements, child support and spousal support. All of these issues can be decided, and once the judgment is entered, it becomes a court order. Now let's address another important point. Even if you and the other party had informal agreements, those agreements may not be reflected in the default judgment. The court relies on what is formally presented, not what was discussed privately. Now let's talk about property. If you do not respond, you may lose the opportunity to assert your rights to certain assets. The other party may propose a division that you would not have agreed to, but without your response, you may not have a chance to challenge it. Now let's talk about custody. If children are involved, the court will still apply the best interest standard. But without your participation, your perspective may not be fully considered, and that can affect the outcome. Now let's discuss support. Child support and spousal support can be ordered based on the information available to the court. If your financial situation is not properly presented, the orders may not reflect your actual circumstances. Now here's where many people run into problems. They delay, they assume they have more time, or they believe they can deal with it later. But once a default is entered, it becomes more difficult to change the outcome. Now let's talk about setting aside a default. In some cases, it may be possible to ask the court to set aside a default judgment, but this is not automatic. You must show a valid reason, such as mistake, inadvertence, surprise, or excusable neglect. And there are deadlines for making that request. Waiting too long can limit your options. Now let's talk about documentation. If you are responding to a divorce, you need to file the appropriate forms, provide financial disclosures, and participate in the process. This is not just about filing a response, it's about being involved in the case. Now let's discuss strategy. If you've been served, the first step is to understand what is being requested. What is the other party asking for? What are the issues? What are your rights? Then you need to take action within the required time frame, because timing is critical. Now, let's address another common misunderstanding. Some people believe that if they avoid being served, the case cannot proceed. But there are legal methods for service. And once service is completed, the timeline begins. Avoiding the issue does not stop the process. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. Divorce is not just about ending a marriage. It is about resolving financial, legal, and parental issues, and those issues require participation. Ignoring the process can lead to outcomes that are difficult to change. Finally, let's talk about responsibility. If you are served with legal documents, it is your responsibility to respond, to understand what is happening, and to take steps to protect your interests, because the court will not wait indefinitely. In conclusion, a default judgment in a California divorce can have significant and lasting consequences. It allows the case to move forward without your input, and it can result in orders that affect your property, your finances, and your relationship with your children. If you've been served, do not ignore it. Take action, understand your options, and participate in the process. Call us at 888-888-6582. I'm Vince Davis, and we are all in this together.